Food for thought here. Everyone that I speak to who've got alcohol issues have high anxiety issues. And a lot of us who drink, especially when we're younger, will have had anxiety before we drink. And we drink to take the edge off the anxiety, really. And the younger you start drinking, the more chance you've got of being an alcoholic later in life. That's proven statistics by the so-called experts. However, anxiety affects all areas of your life. It did with me. And I think my anxiety started in my mid-20s. I was quite a shy kid. 14, 15, I started drinking a little bit. I felt a bit better, as we do when we're young. Because I think we're all a little bit body conscious, a bit conscious about social status and stuff when you're a young lad or a young woman. And it took the edge off things. Now, as it progresses, the anxiety is taken away a little bit, but it comes back tenfold the next day. And that'll get worse over time. And it affects the way you live, the way you project yourself, your career and everything. Because the more you're anxious, the more you drink. That's what I found. But I used to like drinking, and I wasn't ready to give it up. But I'm just going to talk about the anxiety side of things. And the stress of being anxious. Because when you're anxious, you can deal with less and less. When you're pretty calm, then you can deal with things much easier. You still get problems when you're sober, but you can deal with them easier, or they appear easier. But when you've got anxiety, then everything's blown out of proportion. The smallest problem becomes huge. That's the issue. And mine was even so acute. I was anxious about travelling on public transport on the Underground. Now, for years I travelled on the London Underground without a problem. And suddenly I started to feel a bit anxious on the platform and in the train itself, especially Underground. Because a little bit of it's overground between Epping and East London. It wasn't so bad then, but when it was packed, I used to be very, very nervous. What's going to happen? Is anything going to happen? When I was on the platform, I thought, was somebody going to push me and all this sort of thing. But if I had a few drinks after work, I didn't feel like that at all. So that the drink did take away the anxiety, but it's only short term. The next day you wake up and you feel absolutely dreadful. Because the anxiety kicks in. And then what you do is you wait all day at work until you get another drink to try and stem the anxiety, try and keep it off a little bit. And that will eat away at you. And I would say that my mental health issue with anxiety was far worse initially than any physical problem. And then when I got diazepam a couple of times, I came off the drink, then my anxiety went. As soon as I stopped drinking, my anxiety disappeared. And then when I had that nearly fatal relapse in 2014, where I was drinking, I couldn't get any medication. I was so anxious about getting medication, I couldn't get any. So, what was going to happen to my life, what was going to happen to my body, how I was going to cope with things, how would I cope with things financially, everything became a problem. And it just got worse and worse. And I was self-medicating with alcohol, and it was for anxiety. But I look back now, I don't have any anxiety. Of course we have a little bit of anxiety, with relationships, with money, with travel, with all sorts of daily issues. So you always have a little bit in there, but you can cope with it. I can cope with anything now that's thrown at you, within reason. But when I was so anxious and I was living in a flat on my own, I didn't even want to open the door. What was I scared of? I'm 6'3". I'm a handy guy, I used to be. I was worried about everybody, worried about speaking to people, seeing people, opening the post, going to the shops. I used to go into a shop and think, better not go into this shop because it's too big. So I used to prefer the small shops, and the small shops are more expensive, aren't they? It's all a vicious cycle, you see. Now, I was worried about going to a large shop because I thought I'm going to fall over. Why? I've never fallen over before. Why would I suddenly feel like I'm going to fall over? I've never fainted before. Why would I think I'm suddenly going to faint? All of these things are carried over from alcohol. And the more you do that, the worse it feels, and you blow everything up. You think that people are staring at you. They might be. But you become paranoid as well. That people are watching me. No one was watching me. What do they watch me for? It's a mad thing, but it does affect your mind, you see. But I wasn't aware of this. And it actually made me depressed in the end. I still wasn't aware of it. I was thinking about more of the physical side, when I was tired, when I was bored, when I didn't feel well, when I couldn't keep my food down, when my finances were going down faster than snow off a dike. all this sort of thing. Where I was going to get my next drink from, that was massive anxiety. Trying to stock up my drink, where will I get my next drink from? Because I don't have a drink, then I will get more anxiety. I'll feel terrible. I'll feel really, really bad. And it got worse and worse and worse. Now, I do this one-to-one support thing now. Everybody I've spoken to, everyone, bar none, has anxiety when they drink. And when they stop drinking, the anxiety will slowly dissipate. After a few weeks, the anxiety's gone. I couldn't even drive the car. I had to sell my car. I used to drive, it's a strange one, but a lot of people can identify with this that I've spoken to. On small country roads, I was fine, because I knew I had somewhere to get off if I didn't feel very well. But on a motorway, I felt trapped. I used to drive along, my hands stuck to the wheel, sweating buckets, and so my heart was racing, so anxious that I couldn't get off the motorway. And 2014, when I started drinking again, I'd gone to South France. I had to get this girl I was with to drive on the motorway. And I said, I'll drive the more difficult roads, the windy roads, through Italy and through Switzerland and all that sort of thing. What? It was more difficult to drive on those in the motorway. I couldn't drive on the motorway. But I could drive on the smaller roads that weren't so fast. Now I've got a sports car and I can drive whatever I want to drive within reason. So all of these, every part of my life was ruled by alcohol on the anxiety side, more than the physical side initially. And then obviously the physical side took over as I drank more. So you've got to watch out for these signs of anxiety when you're not feeling too well, you're not feeling well about yourself, you're starting to worry about things. We all worry about things. Nobody has a perfect life. I've never met anybody that's got a perfect life. We all have medical issues and family issues, relationship issues and financial issues. Even billionaires got a budget. So when you feel the anxiety coming, this is really a time to put the brakes on a bit. And the bottom line is, if you don't stop, or you don't cut down, or you don't try and cut it out of your life, it's going to get worse. And then you start self-medicating with alcohol. You start by having hair of the dog. And the earlier you start drinking, the more you'll have to drink, if that makes sense. Because when I retired and I started drinking during the day, I have a hair of the dog in the morning, I found myself thinking, well, if I have one at 9, I should be all right till midday. I wasn't. I'd have another drink at 10, then 11, then half 11, then 12, then 12:30, and so it went on. And then by the time we get to 6 o'clock, when the normal people came out, I'd had about 8 to 10 drinks. All because I was anxious about life. All because I worried about letters coming through the post. If I knew there was in a brown envelope, oh God, what's that? I hadn't done anything wrong. I've never done anything wrong. Well, none that anybody's found out about it. So the anxiety is the number one thing that I would look out for at the moment with alcohol, especially if you're not drinking too much, but you're feeling a bit rough the next day. In your mind, and you think, God, what did I text last night? What happened there? If you're losing your memory a little bit, because when you get sober, your mental clarity will come back. You'll be able to think straight. You can't do anything when you've got this anxiety hanging over you. It becomes torturous, and alcohol will completely ruin your life in the end. It ruined mine. It ruined many others, and a lot of people are dead now because of it. But anxiety, look out for it, deal with it, get in touch with me if you want some help. If you've got any major problems with alcohol, don't just stop, because it can cause seizures and all that sort of thing, which it did with me, and I wasn't aware of it until it happened. But if you can start to cut down, maybe taper off, if that's suitable for you, then you'll feel the benefits very quickly. If you can get off the booze, within 6 months of coming off, you'll feel great again. You'll feel like a new person. And your life will be much, much better, and you can rebuild it again. Get in touch with me if you need any help. And if you benefit from the channel, then please subscribe and share it. And I'll speak to you all very, very soon.